This is Eubanks for IFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're at the headquarters of Frank Warren here. With me I have Frank Warren. How are you, Frank?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah?
Trying to anyway.
All good. Let's just go back to last Thursday. We were in Spain with Billy Joe Saunders with this Skype press conference. I don't know where to start, to be honest, because the connection, as you know, wasn't the greatest. We was watching it, we could hear the majority of it, but
it was the same back here as well for some reason. It just didn't work, and it's a shame we had to do it by Skype. We've been trying to do it for quite a few weeks, and for various reasons, we just couldn't get the guys together, and not going to show you down to us. But anyway, we managed to finally get young Christopher along. And everybody now knows that the fight is definitely on. All that sort of is it on, is it off stuff that was floating around, it was always on, and it was always going to be for the 3 titles, and that's what we delivered.
Well, I mean, watching the press conference back, Chris Eubanks Senior said that the reason why that they weren't going to mention the fight or talk about the fight or say it's been announced is because of the British title situation. Was that the sole reason?
Well, it was one of the reasons, and he said, that's what he said, but the bottom line of it all was it was always going to be for the British title. Mick Hennessy, who's involved with Blackwell, we did a deal for him to step aside so we can get the 3 titles on the line, and obviously the winner, whoever wins that fight, has to then defend, if they wish to hang on to the title against Blackwell. So that was the deal. It was never going to be an issue. It was done. It was just annoying. It was wasting my time, everybody else's time, and we didn't get the best that we could have out of the press conference by getting the 2 guys together. Because it's not just about saying, just make an announcement, the fight is on. Public want to see, want to hear what they've got to say to each other. I mean, you guys do, press, media, everybody wants something, to help promote and sell the fight. And the bottom line of it is, a good fighter, any fighter wants to generate income, wants to make money, and the way they do that is by becoming box office. And you only become box office by letting the public know you are. If you're a secret, it doesn't, it just doesn't happen. And when you look at fighters like Muhammad Ali, you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, you look at Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, all of them get it and do it. Why was box office so good? Sky box office so good with Groves? Because Groves got out there and promoted the fight and sold it. That's how you generate income, and it's stupid. It just hurts everybody, and it was very sad. But anyway, that's all done now. The fight's on. And I think young Chris Eubanks is a good kid. He's a nice kid. I'm sure he'd like to do all the things that were needed to be done. And Billy Joe, he's been there for God knows how many times, and he has to get on with his training. He's gone down to Spain to train, so unfortunately we couldn't get him all there.
Was it slightly disappointing that we heard more from Senior rather than Junior on Thursday? It was a half-hour press conference.
He's his dad. He's got the pedigree as such as being a former world champion. He's very recognisable, Chris Senior, and that's it. I mean, that's their setup, and that's how it works. And I'm sure, that's how that relationship works. It's a son and the dad, and the dad is in the driving seat as far as being involved in the promotion and the management of his son.
In the last 3 minutes of that press conference, you seem like you really lost it, to be honest, with Eubanks Senior. You refer to him as being sort of awkward and the situation being crazy. Has it been that awkward?
Well, I mean,
to get to this stage?
We talked afterwards, but and hopefully everybody sees some sense now. To talk about us going down to Brighton for press conference, and that's just not on. Fight's in London, fight's not on in Brighton. Billy Joe Saunders holds the 3 belts. And show a bit of respect, that's all I said to him. What are you talking about? And you're not going to have any press conferences? I don't think so. We're going to have press conferences, and we're going to work together, and we're going to make this a big event. We could give the fight, the respect and the publicity it deserves. That's the business what we're in. Even if every ticket's sold out, keep you keep banging the drum. That's what promotion's about. not cooperating for the sake of doing it. It's not even any rationale to it. If somebody could explain to me why, then I might think, well, hang on a minute, you've got a point there, but there's no rationale to it.
Okay. Obviously, this is becoming kind of the marquee piece of the 29th show. We know it's headlined by Chisora Fury, and there was questions in the press about what sort of fight has sort of taken that sort of mantle. It doesn't matter though, does it, Frank, which one?
I don't agree. What it is to the boxing fans, this is the point I'm making about promotion, to the boxing fans it is, but to anybody outside of boxing, nobody knows who Chris Eubanks Jr. is outside of boxing. They don't. That's not being disrespectful to him. He's not a big name out there. His dad was a name, was it 15 years ago, whatever it was, but he's not a big name out there. Derek Chisora and Tyson Fury, for whatever reasons, are known by the general public, and so for that fight, or for Chris Eubanks and even Bill up to a point to be to get to the next level as far as the general public knowing about them, this is the fight to do it. But at the moment Chris Eubanks Jr. is it's to the boxing audience, the actual boxing fans, and he's not gone no bigger than that yet. And he may not. Bill does the job. We'll see what happens. It's a very intriguing fight. It's a great fight for the fans. And the whole card, I don't keep banging on about it, the whole card's a great card.
With 5 and a bit weeks to the 29th, with the card so good, Frank, and everything all right now, are you at all concerned that issues may arise as the weeks go on leading up to 29th?
This is boxing. Every day something arises. You just keep your fingers crossed that everybody stays healthy, fit, and they're all there on the night. I hope nothing goes wrong, but I've had guys pull out on days of fights, nights of fights. Anything can happen in this business.
How much did you not want Chris Eubank Jr. to be fighting this week in Liverpool?
I don't want it at all. I don't see the sense of it, but that was what we hit. Everybody says the fight fans, the fight they want to see. So, and I was determined to deliver that fight. They've been getting at it between each other on Twitter, social media and so forth. And I thought, right, let's do it then. Spoke to Bill about it, so let's get it on. Chris Eubanks Senior said that they wanted to do it, so there we go. But then it'll only fight if this happens and that happens. And basically, I just bent over backwards to make it happen. He should be fighting next week, in my opinion, or this week now. Anything, clip his hand, get a cut, all those things can happen, and the last thing I want to do is jeopardise his fight, but that was what we had to do to get the fight on. And when Bill said he was, it wasn't a publicity thing, when Bill said to him, I'll pay you your purse, he meant it. Bill really, I've never seen him so much up for a fight. You've been down in Marbella, and he's really got the bit between his teeth. He really, he really wants this fight badly, as does Chris Eubanks Jr. So, I just don't want nothing to go wrong with it. I want the fans to get what they get that great night of boxing, without any hiccups. And I certainly want to see the fight myself. I think it's going to be a great fight.
I've known Billy Joe for several amount of years outside of boxing, Frank, and when he says that thing about the 20 grand, he means that.
He did. I mean,
he would go and do that.
He did mean it, and I can see where he's coming from, because it's a fight for him, and it's for some reason this fight's gained a lot of momentum, and for him, he sees that as another notch in his belt, and he wins it. If he wins this fight, he wins it. He then goes on and then he fights for the winner of Andy Lee and Kobarov. So he's got everything to go for, and that's what he's working towards. But the thing about Bill is that you get the best out of him when he's got what I feel is a real challenge, a mental challenge. When he fought Jared Fletcher, he went into that fight as a big underdog in that fight. A lot of people thought Fletcher, who's undefeated, come over, and he's a good fighter, and went on to be went on to be, and still is a good fighter. He knocked him out. I mean, he stopped him. And that last fight he had against the undefeated guy for the European title,
Glenn
Morov, he absolutely went out there and done a job on him. And, that's a blinding knockout. And he's not a guy. If you look at his record, he's not knocked a lot of fellas out, stopped a lot of fellas, certainly in his last few fights. But he needed, he went out there and made a statement. And I think it'll be the same with this fight. And he's smart. He's got a good brain. He's got a good boxing brain. He's training hard for it. And I know that Chris Eubanks Jr. will be doing the same thing. You know, Ronnie Davis, they won't be cutting any corners. But Billy Joe certainly isn't cutting corners. He's training as hard for this as he's done for any fight. And he's training for it like it's a world title fight.
If Billy Joe is to be victorious on the 29th, obviously that will keep his stead in for that shot at Liam Korobov. I know when the press asked you about the Chris Eubank situation, if he was to win, that's not really anything to do with you. But does he?
Well, it would be, but it's up to them. I can't make their decision for them. That's their choice. It's there if they want it.
Okay.
You know, he can if he wants to, he can fight for the world title. You know, his dad said that he could, you know, he could beat anybody out there, including a really good fighter who fought the other day, Golovkin. I mean, he said that, and you know, when you make statements like that, you know, you put yourself under pressure. You certainly put young Christopher under pressure. So, but it's there if they want it. That's their choice. You know, my choice is Bill comes through. My choice is that he goes straight in for the title fight, because otherwise everything is a backward step.
Does it concern you that he's made constant reference to saying he will retire if he was to be big?
Well, look, I don't want to get in there because I'm not even considering him retiring. You know, he fancies the fight, and I think people make statements. You know, we've all done things, said things over the years. You know, I made a statement about, you know, if Enzo Mack gets beat against David Haye, that's my lot. You say it, you know, you do things like that. People do say things, but I don't anticipate him retiring, and I think he's going to win the fight.
Also on this bill, obviously the return of Frankie Gavin against the unbeaten Bradley Skeet.
Yeah, I mean, Frank had a real... I thought he won that last fight. I mean, it's a very close fight. You know, we're not crybabies, so it's no good moaning about it. I thought he won that fight. It seemed that, you know, the knockdown was the deciding factor on the points scoring. But it is what it is, and we move on. But we made a great fight, another great domestic fight with him and Bradley Skeet. Bradley's on a roll. Frank had a really good fight last time out. You know, they are, and he'll obviously be favourite going into the fight. Bradley Skeet fancies it, but again, the winners will be the fans. It is a good quality fight. You know, they're two fighters, you know, nearly at the top of their game. It'll be a cracking fight.
Absolutely. Also, Sykes and Walsh, you know, tried to get this fight on before.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Liam. He's such a nice guy, and he's had so many problems of injuries and that. And when he fought on that Chisora Haye bill a couple of years ago, and he had a really good win, and he's just been dogged with injuries since. Supposed to fought Ricky Burns for the world title, and I always felt that'd be a good fight for him. You know, win or lose, I think he would have given Ricky Burns a real tough fight, but unfortunately he got in a car crash, and he couldn't do the fight. But for me, had that fight gone ahead, it would have been very interesting, because he's smart. He's a very smart fighter, Liam, and you've got to think to yourself, you know, especially you look what's happened with Ricky Burns since, he may have wound up being world champion.
Also, Frank Williams on the bill as well against the unbeaten Andrew Robinson from Birmingham Way.
Yeah, so it's a nice little fight again, isn't it?
It's all happened to Andrew Robinson's ear actually in Wolverhampton.
That's terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you know, game sod, but you know, boxing on with your ear in it like that. You know, tough guy. Yeah, be a good. I mean, it's, again, I keep saying, you know, they're good fights. They're all good, balanced fights, and you know, Frank's. Moved on from Mark Tibbs now, and he's being trained by Steve Collins, and it'd be interesting to see what they bring to the party as far as, you know, their training expertise. Mark done a great job with him, and let's see you know what the difference is going to be, because one thing's for sure, he's going to be in a fight on the night.
Moving on to this weekend, the show at the Echo Arena. First of all, disappointing about Paul Butler not fighting against Tete for the...
We moved heaven and earth to make that. I mean, really tried hard, done it, signed it, and as I say, sod's law, Tete's out, and we're trying to reschedule that now for February. So, you know, in the meantime, he's going to be having a 10-rounder on there against a Mexican, so it'd be a you know, reasonable fight for him. But, you know, being a Mexican, he's not going to come in and roll over, so I'm sure he'll get some rounds under his belt. But to lift yourself after you were going to fight for the world title and then you suddenly fight for a 10-rounder, it's tough. But I've got a lot of time for Paul. I think Paul's a quality young fighter, and hopefully he gets the one away on Saturday, and then we move on to the world title fight rescheduled day.
Interesting fight on the bill is Derry Matthews against Adam Dingsdale for the
good little fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, all these fights we're talking about, not sort of banging the drum promotionally, but they are good fights for fans. It is a good fight.
Liam Smith also in action.
Liam's on there. He's coming through. Liam Williams is on there. The board have ordered that fight, so we'll see what happens with all two. If they both win, what happens next year with that one? That's another good little fight in the oven.
What are your remaining shows to close the year off, Frank?
You forgot Tom Stalker.
Oh, sorry. Tom Stalker and Jack Carroll, actually, because I interviewed Tom Stalker recently. Sorry, going back to that.
It's a good fight. I mean, it's another one. It's a cracker. Experience. The wealth of experience that Tom brings, and obviously he's more mature than Catterall, but. Again, that's a fight you look at. You think, bloody hell, who do you fancy out of these two? But again, the fans will benefit from it.
Absolutely. Have I missed any other fights out before?
I probably have. I'm the one who's going at the game. Don't worry, it's me, not you.
So your closing shows, obviously 25th Liverpool. We know about the 29th in London.
We got the North Robbing show. And we've got the two Evans brothers, Craig and Reese. They're both fighting on there. Josh Leather's on that show. We've got another title fight that we're going to announce this week for that one. And then we've got a cracking fight with Flanagan against Ullman. That's a really good fight.
What bill was that on?
We're going to do it. At the moment, it's due to be on the North Robbins, but we think we're going to move it onto December, onto a bigger show.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
And Box Nation have also they'll be doing the Andy Lee and Korobov fight. That's either going to be on the 13th or the 20th of December. So that's some good stuff going on there. But those, it's all good. Can't complain about things. We've got some good fights lined up, and the good thing about all these fights is they will then, in the first quarter of 2015, we're suddenly going to see the winners of all these different fights in bigger and better fights. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Frank, talk to you about something that was sort of on the social media about a month ago. This is around the time that this whole Saunders Eubank contract situation come up. There was a lot of people, not say a lot of people, there was a minority of people on Twitter that were questioning about the whole printing posters first, signing contracts after. What do you say to that?
Well, I took Chris Eubanks at his word, his dad, and he was in a car on his way up to the press conference, as we all know. When we called the press conference, we had everything ready to go. His son put the poster out on Twitter, not me.
That's correct.
Am I right?
That's correct.
Not us. He put it out on Twitter, said it's on. Regarding the release of the fight, and I mentioned it before, it was put out by the EBU, not by me. And we then had to respond to it. They actually put a circular out. Of course he wanted all the contracts signed. And Chris Eubanks said, right, we was on his way up to the press conference. I said, I want that contract signed at the press conference. Oh, no, we're not till we got to go over a few things. I said, well, then don't come to the press conference. Because could you imagine the aggravation I'd be having had we had the press conference or everything? So that was what the hold-up was. I was confident I would deliver that fight. Things that we agreed were changed. So at the end of the day, I went with all those changes, all of them. Never dug my heels on anything, because I want to get the fight on.
There's been a couple of instances in the past. I mean, you've showed me stuff before when I've been there.
You've seen it yourself, haven't you? You've seen things where I think it's I can't remember the two fights. There was two other fights.
The Wilder and Chisora fight.
Wilder and Chisora. I mean, what more can you do? You got an email coming from his promoter's office saying the fight's on. Send the contract, and then you got the press conference on, and you're getting an email coming up through the middle of the night saying that he's got a problem. And at the time, I didn't know what his problem was, but it transpired that the problem was that he was arrested and so forth, which is beyond my control. And apparently they was taking his passport away or wouldn't let him travel. So that was all beyond us. Maybe that, I'm sure that did happen, but I tell you what, I think they used that to get out of the fight with Derek Chisora. I really do believe at that time they did not want to fight Derek Chisora. And and we offered, I mean, there was no haggling over the money, and everything we offered was there. But that's what happened.
And it was to Ricky Burns and Vasquez.
Well, contracts were signed, the contracts were lodged with the IBF, and we announced the fight. Subsequently, he was taken ill. We got a doctor's certificate from his manager and his promoter, and nothing I can do about that. That's how it was.
You've said to me before, like years ago, obviously, if you sort of had an agreement with a fighter or two fighters, and not a sort of handshake situation, but a sort of a gentleman's agreement, that the fight will happen, that was good enough for you?
Absolutely. What you get now, you do something, people then trying to get in between it, undermine it and kill it. So, the thing is, obviously you've got to get your contract signed. But, if Bob Arum or Don King or Richard Schaefer, when he was at Golden Boy, any of those guys said to me, you've got to fight, that was it. We would deal with all the other stuff afterwards. When I was putting fights on, say, ITV, Sky, my relationship with ITV when Bob Burrows was there, Trevor East, and even with Vic Wakeling at Sky. I think I've done it at least once with Barney Francis. We agreed fights and sorted the money out afterwards, because that's what the relationship was. But this day and age, it's got the stage where where you trust who you deal with. There was no way I was going to have a press conference with Chris Eubanks and his son, and there wasn't anything in writing. And I made that very clear at the start. That's why it didn't come up. And then and we was actually going to move on. If you remember, we were going to announce the fight with Korobov. And then what happened was that he got in touch with me just before the press conference at Fredericks and said, let's try and get this done. So, all unnecessary. Listen, it doesn't take long to negotiate a fight. It doesn't take long to get contracts signed. You can sit down. Two people can sit in a room and do that in a couple of hours. If there's a will to do it. But when things are getting dragged on and on and on and on, you think, what is this about? When I don't want to go into a lot of detail. You think, this seems like some people want to negotiate themselves out of a contract rather than negotiate a contract.
What was the situation? There were some tweets that come from the Frank on Twitter regarding the Chisora Fury fight. I think it was an interview that Peter Fury done.
I don't know. Peter and I met, and we had a meeting over a couple of weekends ago. It was over an amendment to the contract, but there weren't no need for an amendment because the contract dealt with postponements. But we met anyway, and there was no problems.
Do we, as boxing fans, in today's age, know too much about what goes on?
I think what you get. I think it can be used sometimes in negotiation. People use it. They'll put that out for us. Can you say this? Can you say? You get that stuff going. That's it. And you get people who try to undermine it. I mean, the Ricky Burns fight, Vasquez. There was a guy up in Scotland who was doing his best to undermine the fight taking place. I don't know why, or on whose behalf he was doing it, but he was constantly putting stuff out about Vasquez. And I was getting, there's no contract signed. Well, the contracts were lodged with the IBF. As I said, somebody pick up the phone to the IBF and ask that contracts are lodged for Vasquez, and they were there. Have you seen it? I've showed it.
Yeah, you showed me last time.
It's stupid, but it's what they want it to be, and they try and create this problem, and they get sometimes, might be a boxer might start believing that rubbish. Why on earth would I do? Why on earth think logically? Why wouldn't I want Derek Chisora to fight Deontay Wilder? Why wouldn't I want Ricky Burns to fight Vasquez? I didn't want him to fight the Puerto Rican guy that was giving him all the trouble till he pulled out in the 9th round. I didn't want him fighting him. That's why we made the Vasquez fight. Why would I do that? And then you say, oh, it's to sell tickets. Hang on a minute. If you don't want to go to the show and you've bought a ticket, then you return it. That's always been our policy. It's not, pay for your ticket. If you want to see a certain fight, that fight's not on, you have the right to get a refund. And that's what we did when we postponed the fight with Tyson Fury in Chisora, and done it with other fights. It's beyond our control sometimes. But to say we're announcing a fight to sell tickets, that's not happening. It's just stupid. It's annoying. And people get half the story, or the story they want it to be, and so that's the way sometimes it is. Somebody, they always feel somebody's got to be a villain in it, and maybe I'll fit that profile. I don't know, but the bottom line is, I've got this fight. What I said I'd deliver, I delivered. What I said I was going to deliver for Ricky Burns, I delivered. Vasquez was a nailed-on fight. He pulled out the fight. He pulled out the contract. That's why we're in court. That's why we're there. He decided that he felt he could rescind his contract. That's what he did. And regarding Deontay Wilder, they never ever wanted the fight at the end of the day. They never wanted that fight.
Just going back to that, Frank, how do you think you are perceived? Do you think you're perceived as like the villain character?
Yeah, because
Why?
I don't know. I mean, it's what it is, isn't it? Listen, when I was younger, many years ago, and I was taking on the so-called establishment, then I was the okay guy then. But it's how it is, and over the years, there's been so many different people going to come in this sport and revolutionise it, going to do things. We had Panos Eliades, Panics Promotions, if you remember, came in. We had Ricky Hatton got a load of dates. We've had Nassim Hamid got a lot of dates and worked with Matchroom, with Barry Hearn. We've had lots of different people who are going to come and revolutionise boxing and whatever. And I've just stuck to my guns, done what I've had to do. But the only difference has been in the last few years is I've gone and done something different than anybody else. I've gone and started or been involved in the conception and the reality of our own boxing channel. And that, whether you like me, love me, dislike me, whatever, is irrelevant. We delivered something which is really solid and sound for the boxing fans. And I can't reiterate enough, what encapsulates all of that is November. November, you've got the 4 fights we kicked to that: Chisora Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubanks Jr., Gavin Skeet, Liam Walsh, Sykes, plus a great undercard. We've got Korolov against Hopkins, Pacquiao, Algieri, Crawford. And coming within that same, that to me, for 12 quid, is fabulous value. You're a boxing fan. It might be nice for it to get a little bit of a, well done, boys. You're delivering to us. We're not just delivering British boxing. What we're doing, we're bringing to the fans great fights from around the world. That's what we are now. What we were has changed. The whole dynamic of just being a promoter has changed. We're now in a different scenario. We're in the business of bringing the best to the fans. We do that. And if you look at it, that's for 12 quid. On the other side, you've got to pay 15 quid for one show, one pay-per-view, one night pay-per-view to see a fight. Which is, we know it's a domestic grudge match between Nathan Cleverly and Bellew, but they've both been beaten. There's no title at stake. When they fought, when I put the show on Box Nation, the original show, it was for a title. It was for a world title. And they had a big clash before that fight, if you remember, a big bust up at the O2, which helped, it helped sell it. And if you look at the rest of the guys, James DeGale was in a European title fight, and it was it was an excellent show at Liverpool, and it actually went out free to air. You didn't have to pay a subscription then. But the point I'm making, that's that perception. You say to me, what do people think you are? I'll tell you what I'll be a liar to say I don't care, but what I do care about is boxing, and what I do care about is what I want to see as a fight fan. And I believe what we deliver to the fight fans, from a fight fan's perspective, is great value for money. 12 quid. 12 quid is cheaper than 4 issues of the month for boxing news. Reading about the fights, you can watch them for 12 quid. It's fabulous, man. And there's all the other stuff there. You know, the old archive material. You know, there's your show, there's Bunce's show, there's the Boxing Matters. You know, it's interesting, and we really work hard at doing that. We've got 2 channels going. We've got an HD channel going, and we've got the 437 channel going. So I feel that what we've managed to do in a very difficult economic situation, which absolutely at one stage nearly put us in the poorhouse, to be quite honest. But we pushed our way. We determined all the energies that we put into our promotions. You know, we put into this channel, and now I think it's paying off. It's certainly paying off for the fight fans. What you're talking about now is that worth pay-per-view? Is it a pay-per-view show? Well, that's up to the fans to decide. You know, you talk to me about forums. I don't think the forums are taking it too well, and I don't see that as a pay-per-view show at all. It's a funny thing, you know, we all say things one day and say something else maybe a few days later. I remember when we were doing those shows, Eddie Hearn said about Bellew and Cleverly, it's only a Commonwealth title fight. There are these quotes, you look them up. He said, pay-per-view fights, there shouldn't be no pay-per-view. My how times change. You know, that's where they are now. And you know, Matchroom have got the Sky budget. It's quite a decent budget they've got, and that they deliver their shows. On top of that, they're charging more money for for a show of that site. For that show, they're making that a pay-per-view show. I don't think it is a pay-per-view show. If anything, I think the show on the 29th is a more value as a pay-per-view show. And we're not doing it as pay-per-view.
Was you tempted to do that as pay-per-view?
No, not at all. No, we are where we are, man. Look, let's not beat about the bush. There are times where you have to do pay-per-view because the demands of the fighter to actually make it work. You know, you can only you hit a level where you can only generate so much money from the subscriber from his subscription for that month. That goes for Sky, Box Nation, and anybody. And then you're looking for like a Manny Pacquiao or Nassim Hamid when he was fighting over here, when he was world champion. A lot of those shows went pay-per-view because the purses Hamid was getting. And other fighters like that, Nigel Benn and so forth. That's why they went pay-per-view. Frank Bruno against Mike Tyson. They were pay-per-view fights because that is the only way you could make the fights happen. Otherwise, all those fights would have gone to the States. Don't tell me Tony Bellew and Nathan Cleverly is a pay-per-view fight. They're not getting huge purses for that. So, what's it all about? I don't understand. I do not understand how that fight can be a pay-per-view. Top of the bill in a million years. But it isn't pay-per-view fair. Both got beat, both knocked out, both got beat. So why would you pay 15 quid to watch that? It's a good fight, good grudge match. They're not the number one cruiserweights in the country. Boxing Rec, independent ratings, make Orville Mackenzie the number one. And Box Rec's nothing to do with me. They've got him number one. So why would you charge 15 quid for that? Do you think it's value for money? What's the view you're getting from the street?
No, I've seen it from both. I've seen it from both sides. There has been people that have complained about that being a pay-per-view show. I've also heard some of the reasons why it needs to be pay-per-view from that side. So,
well, why does it need to be pay-per-view? I'm not asking.
I know.
That's not asked you. You're not you to get. Why does that need to be pay-per-view? I don't get why. I don't see how on earth you can justify that being a pay-per-view show in any shape or form. It's a good fight, and give it to the Sky subscribers for their rights fee for the month. Why would you want to charge them extra? It was pay-per-view day one. What they've been trying to do now is bolstering it up every time, putting something on there to try and justify it. But it's not pay-per-view. They announced that straight off. This is the pay-per-view. This is what it is. Big backlash and bolster it up, and that's great. They should bolster it up, and that's good for the fans that they're giving them something extra for the money. But please do me a favour.
Well, listen, it is what it is. Anyway, bottom line is 2 great shows in November anyway.
Yeah,
it is,
absolutely great for the fight fans or whatever. But I'm talking about, but you want value for money. 12 quid for the month to see all those fights, the best fighters from around the world, against 15 quid for one night is a no-brainer. Zero brainer.
Well, I would be at both anyway.
I know you are.
I would be at both anyway.
I'm going to get you a nice fence to sit on. You can watch.
I'm a big fence sitter. I've got a fence sit between you and.
That's why I put that cushion there for you. That sore backside of you.
It's the only way this works. This IFL TV. If I sit right bang in the middle.
Not a problem.
Frank Warren, Eddie, sit right bang in the middle. Frank, it's got to be done. All right. Well, listen, Frank. Thanks for this insightful chat today.
That's right, mate. Good to see you as always.
It's been good. We'll have to keep it going more regularly.
Well, you know where I am.
I know this doors. Just give me a key to the office.
I'll give you. I thought you had one. Someone was in here last night. I'm going to find out who it was.
It's Andy Owen. He had the jukebox on. Shame about John Holt, wasn't it? He died yesterday.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
He passed away yesterday.
What a killer.
And
bloody hell.
the actress Linda Bellingham also passed away
with cancer. That. Yeah, she went. That was a brave lady. She'd done a great interview on TV. It's quite touching. But that John Holt.
John Holt, passed away yesterday.
See all from my youth, all those good old.
Many years ago.
Yeah, many.
Who did you used to listen to when you was?
What did I like when I was a kid?
Say early 20s.
Early 20s. Well, from very young, we used to go to places, lots of clubs. Go to Lyceum, Tottenham Royal, Downbeat, Tiles, Whiskey A Go Go. Done all those things. And I was mad about soul music. I love James Brown. I was really into good ska music. I'm not talking about the Ben Shermans. Before all the Ben Shermans, we used to go to shops down in a couple of shops down in Shaftesbury Avenue. We get the original, get the button-down shirts and all that. Probably old Harriet and Jazz. Before all those kids did it. And the music I used to just love it. I used to like. I used to love the Scatterlights. All of that stuff that used to come out from Jamaica. That was really good ska music. But I love soul music. I mean, Stax, Tamla Motown, anything Willie Mitchell was involved with, and who eventually went on to produce Al Green. All that genre of music. You throw them at me, I'm really good at intros of songs. So if you want to have a little competition with me,
really? Bring
along a little country intro. See if I can get.
So if I got you next time, I'll get you the first sort of opening 10 seconds of a song.
Yep.
Yeah.
From
give me a time period from when to when.
You do them from sort of Tamla, anything from the sort of 60s, into the 70s, right up to the 70s, any of that. Then you had Stax.
Yeah.
Volt. I remember going to see Otis Redding live. See James Brown a couple of times live. See them, you see all those old acts. Ike and Tina Turner when they were Ike and Tina Turner, before she'd done all that Simply the Best stuff. We just sing proper, real good, gutsy soul, bluesy music. And I like the old, and I love lots of old blues music. People like Lowell Fulson, guys like that. Bobby Blue Bland. Into all that sort of music.
I suppose you think music's just a lot of noise now, don't you?
No, I'll get some of it. I mean, some stuff I find it.
What new stuff would you listen to?
Who would I listen to new stuff?
Anything sort of in the last sort of 10 years?
A couple of one-offs there. I had a really good band called Dr. Rubber Funk, a song called Northern Soul. Northern Comfort.
Dr. Rubber Funk.
Listen to it. Yeah. I'll go to concerts about three a month. Always going to see something that's on, and I like Sharon Jones and the Dat Kings. They were over here recently. So you wouldn't know all these. The Dat Kings are the band that were all on Amy Winehouse's backing
Right, okay.
albums. And they were out of New York. I mean, great band. I mean, all that sort of stuff. I love.
Would you ever listen to anything like a bit urban, Frank? Like, as in,
You know, hit me with something.
like gangster rap or anything like that? Would anything like that? Not gangster rap, but just rap music in general. Is there anything?
Well, listen, it's not a new thing, is it?
That ain't a new thing.
No, I mean, what was the original one? Was it? I can't think of a bleeding name now. It come to me a minute. Who was it? The Rapper's Delight and all that sort of stuff. That was that 20 odd years ago. It's nothing new, is it?
If you was to reel off one of like a newer name, and that'd just be an image in my head.
Right. Let me try and reel off a newer name. Well, it's not a rapper, but I love John Legend.
Yeah, John Legend. Yeah,
John Legend. I've seen him quite a few times live. CeeLo Green.
CeeLo Green.
Right.
Oh,
Andre 3000. You know, all that stuff. Yeah. Right, boy. And smart. Good whistles, eh?
Andre 3000.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
You pulled it out of the bag there.
Yeah, I'll try.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, Frank. Thanks for
I'm going
talking.
to listen to Max Bygraves now.
Thanks for talking to iFeel TV, and good luck with your show this week. And
Thank
we'll
you,
catch
young
up with
man.
you soon.
And good luck to you as always.
All right.
Thank you.
Coogan Cassius, iFeel TV here with Frank Warren. Thank you very much.